Corydoras geoffroy is one of the coolest looking and largest of all Corydoras. I really like this fish, especially the big males that get odontodes on their pectoral fins just like some plecos. This is a beautiful fish, but it also has a reputation to be quite difficult, like many of the Corydoras that occur deep in the forests of Suriname. I also think that this fish is really threatened in much of its natural habitat because illegal logging and gold mining is impacting the creeks where it occurs. So on today's expedition, I want to show you the habitat of this cory. Maybe some of you will get some ideas that help you to keep these fish. Geoffroy's cory occurs in the tributaries of the Marawina River, the river that forms the border between Suriname and French Guiana. Lucky, there's a road to get to the northern habitats of this species. But that is also a bad sign. If you find a road like this that goes deep inside the forest, it is either a logging road or a road that brings you to a gold mine. And that also means we have arrived at the major threats for this species. These are pristine forests, and the streams that the Corydoras occur in flow through this largely untouched landscape, eventually joining up with larger rivers. Even when it rains here, these streams are fast flowing and have little silt in them. The streams are small, not much wider than a driveway, and from the air you cannot see them because they are completely shaded by the forest. The surrounding forest is the key to these habitats. The leaves from the trees acidify the water, but it is not black water as we know it from other locations. It is stained lightly, giving the water a red appearance. The shade prevents the sun from warming the water, and temperatures are in the mid-20s or mid to low 70s Fahrenheit. You will now also understand the threat from logging, but there is an even bigger threat in this region. The gold deposit that stretches across the Guianas also extends across these habitats, and legal and illegal gold mines quickly destroy these creeks, with tailings polluting the water and the now open forest canopy heating the remaining habitat beyond the tolerance of these fish. But back to our logging road. In the lowest depression of these lightly rolling hills, we discover a small stream crossing the road. Thanks to expert guide and fish collector Maurice, who is familiar with many of these well-hidden streams, we have an opportunity to look for Corydoras in this habitat. This is untouched forest, and the only relief from the biting flies are large, bright green wasps that pick off the biting flies mid-air. Once your skin is wet, this place is torture, because tabanids, or deer flies as we call them in North America, are merciless when your skin is wet. On the day I'm laundering my only long pants in Suriname, the flies are having a feast at my expense. The river is shallow, with a hard substrate mixed with densely packed beige sand and hard amorphous pebbles that look like iron ore or bauxite. Walking in the stream causes almost no debris to lift up. The water is ankle to knee deep, surprisingly cool and very fast flowing. The margins are densely overgrown with semi-aquatic plants and wild ginger with bright red flowers. Biting ants and snakes make walking safest in the riverbed. The slightly slower moving water on the inside bend glows bright green. Finger-long sprigs of Cabomba grow here, and just under the surface we spot the first fish. These tiny guppies are Micropoecilia bifurca. In the dappled light and swirling motion of the water, they are very difficult to spot when snorkeling, but from above, the bright spot between their eyes makes them easy to locate. Some meters downstream, small sticks have assembled in the riverbank. In the shallowest water, small water lilies grow with their leaves bent backwards in the current. The only characin I could find here are loose schools of large Bryconops melanoris. They gather in increasing numbers, usually to feed on small particles of potential food knocked loose by two large mammals walking across their creek. But in our case, they are feeding on dozens of biting flies smashed on our legs, arms, and necks as they drop in the water. This creek is relatively depauperate, the water pristine, but without much potential food. No wonder these conditions are so hard to mimic in an aquarium, and that the Corydoras that come from this kind of habitat often do not fare well in the stagnant and insufficiently filtered water in an aquarium. Funny enough that the first Corydoras to swim in front of my camera is Corydoras aeneas, the most widespread Corydoras species of all. They occur here as well, but not in large numbers. The Corydoras geoffroy have fled the scene when we first entered the creek, congregating behind a small riffle caused by accumulated debris just below the shallow, wide pool where we entered the water. After some time, the first geoffroy appear. They are well camouflaged against the substrate and move quickly. These are not fully adult fish, but I'm ecstatic to capture this footage of a very rare Corydoras in its natural habitat. Several pairs of the cories pass the camera, traveling upstream and searching the substrate for food. Traveling upstream or downstream in this creek is not easy, and ornamental fishermen collect only a very short sector of these creeks, from the entry points where they intersect the road to some 50 meters downstream, where various obstructions make it impossible to proceed. A typical day of fishing yields several dozen Corydoras, enough to satisfy the market for such a specialized fish, and too few to damage the population. The impact of logging and gold mining, however, can easily erase these small habitats, even if the mining activity is miles upstream. I hope you enjoyed this look at the habitat of one of the most rare Corydoras, and it helps you to understand these fish a little better. This kind of pristine, fast-flowing water with low population density is really difficult to achieve in a normal aquarium, and would explain why these Corydoras are so difficult to maintain long-term. Please make sure to subscribe to this channel and share this video on your social media. If you want to support the channel more and help us to produce more content, come to belowwater.com and buy a book on the Amazon or the Rio Xingu.